An organic life. Wow. Back in the 80s, I actually worked on Wall Street when the first organic companies started going public. And they were having such a hard time because no one thought organic foods could make money. No one did. And so the Wall Street was completely against, helping this thing because they thought it was ridiculous and would never go anywhere. There was one guy, I wound up working with him a little bit, who believed in this stuff, whose name escapes me at the moment. But him and I, we worked together on getting some Westoy and some of the Haynes, some of the first organizations investment backing to get them to move forward. And then all of a sudden today, it's like, and no matter where you go, into Ralph's or any place, there are organic options. Organicness, actually, we're realizing, is a much better way to go for our health, for our economy, for our well-being, and for the world. And so it seems a real simple leap to say, well, that must mean it must work in our own lives too. And so when I'm looking at this, when I'm looking at growing an organic life, there are things about it that have come to me in terms of how I have shifted my own life away from the non-organic way of living. Now, what does a non-organic way of living look like? It means that every time you worry, you go and do something because you are worried. It means you're taking action because you have fear, doubt, upset. If you're taking action out of those things, you are getting in the way of what could be something brilliant. But you can't know what that is unless you're willing, or I'm willing, to get quiet enough in myself to go, okay, what is real here? And we always have fun with that word reality around here because, it cracks me up when it said, let's be real. Well, what is real? Here's what's real. We are powerful, creative, spiritual beings. Life is malleable. Anything can happen at any moment, depending upon how deeply we can get into the truth of who we are. And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes that's hard. There are things that go on in life, and it's so easy for me to buy into the drama, upset, or whatever of the circumstance, to believe in that particular moment that upset that I'm going through is actually real. And then react to it in a way as if what's going on is real. And you're maybe sitting there thinking well, isn't it? Isn't it real? If I have a diagnosis, isn't that real? If I just got fired from my job, isn't that real? If there's no money in my bank account, isn't that real? Well, kind of, sort of, but also kind of, sort of not. But you don't get to experience the kind of, sort of not of that realness unless you're willing to get quiet enough, take the risk and the faith to dig a little deeper into yourself and knowing that whatever's going on, including an empty bank account, including a diagnosis, including the loss of job, loss of relationship, or whatever those big thing is that might be going on for you, and going, this is somehow for my good. Now, I can't see it right now, but there's something here that is for my good. And so I got to remind myself of that a lot and look at what's going on in my life and say, oh, wow, here's another opportunity. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. Isn't this wonderful that I have another opportunity to grow, to see life as bigger? And then once I get past my own, humor around that, I was talking to my sister the other day. She is one of the top scientists in the Navy. She has underneath her about 75 engineers and scientists who work on keeping particularly naval pilots safe. And her boss, a general, came to her and said to her, how's things going? And she said, well, I'm leaning very heavily on my sense of humor. And I thought that has got to be one of the best answers I have ever heard to the opportunities before us. And I find I lean very heavily on my sense of humor, on daily in life. My wife will tell you, I'm laughing all the time. I mean, everything. It doesn't matter what's going on, there's humor in it, and I'm going to find it, and it's going to crack me up. And I find that really helps settle me down, laughing. Laughing has got to be one of the greatest gifts we have. I mean, anytime I'm really upset, one of my go-tos isn't sitting in meditation, isn't doing affirmations. It's getting on YouTube and watching something that'll crack me up. Because I know that once I've laughed, I'm now closer to a state where I can sit and meditate, where I can sit and get closer to believing in the affirmations that we here know are true. To abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth. To abandon the truth in our hour of need is to not understand the truth. Now, that is such a simple statement. It's up on the wall out there, and yet it's so easy to forget when something goes down that feels hard. Life can feel hard, man. I mean, maybe not for you, but it does for me. Anybody else here sometimes feel like life is just hard? Not healing fast enough, not gaining momentum in whatever you want to accomplish fast enough. Things are just going so slow, and progress just seems like you're pushing this gigantic mountain of a rock uphill. Life can feel that way. But that doesn't make it real. That just means it's feeling that way. Every time I am willing, which is now pretty much every time, to look at what is here for me. What is the good in this? What do I need to learn from this that maybe I didn't know before? Another layer peels away, and I get to feel something I hadn't felt previously. I get to see life a little differently. Now, sometimes I have had in my life some fairly dramatic changes in how I view life, but other times they're just small, important. But I don't get to have those unless I'm looking at them. Some of you know that I had a pretty hard childhood. Was beaten, abused, and treated as if there was something wrong with me a lot. And I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me, and I grew up with a sadness inside me that was so deep that it cut through any joy I may be having at any time. And I spent the last 25 years looking at that sadness, working with that sadness that kept bubbling up into hopelessness at times, being with it, knowing that there must be a way to heal this. There must be. All I got to do is keep looking at it. And my life kept shifting and shifting, but that sadness kept coming up. I mean, only a year ago, I was still telling my wife how I have this underlying sadness that doesn't seem to go away no matter how great life is working. And then one day I woke up and it wasn't there anymore. One day I woke up and certain things that had the fan in our room. My wife sometimes likes to sleep with the fan in our room. That used to drive my nerve endings crazy. To the point where my body did not relax until she got up in the morning and turned it off. And then all of a sudden I started to notice that my body wasn't doing that anymore. All of a sudden I started to notice a deeper sense of relaxation within myself in a way that I didn't even know I was tense. It just shifted. Around here, we use a book called Good to Great. And in this book, it talks about pushing the flywheel and how if you've really done things properly to go from good to great, when the shift occurs, there won't be one thing you can pin it on and say, this is why. It'll be a whole group of actions that you've been doing for years. And that's what it felt like for me. I could not tell you exactly which action I took that have made these miraculous shifts in my beingness, in my body, in my health. I can only tell you that by constantly being willing to look at the next layer, at constantly disciplining myself, that if I'm upset, there's something here for me to look at, to grow from. There's good in this. There must be. That by knowing that and by constantly looking at it, the changes that are going on for me in my world, in my body, in my relationships are extraordinary. When my sister called me the other day, she called and was asking for support because she was feeling hopeless in that moment. She has never done that before in our lives together. The changes that are happening. This is a different sister than the one that didn't talk to me for 30 years. My relationships are shifting dramatically at this time. All of a sudden. But I know that the work that went into making that happen was work that I've been working on for years. What creates an organic life is constantly looking at what is mine to do now? Staying very close to the bone in terms of not worrying about the results out here so much, but what's going on with me in this moment, and what do I need to rise now? What do I need to rise now? What do I need to do to rise now? And I'm always very open. I've learned to be incredibly open to not fall into the pattern of automatic, oh, I should pray. Oh, automatic, I should do an affirmation. Automatic, I should sit and meditate. But instead, staying really open in the present moment to whatever pops up for me in terms of what do I need to care for myself now so that I can feel good about myself, feel joy, feel the beauty of life in this moment now. Sometimes what pops up organically are answers that had never dawned on me before. Sometimes it's stuff I've always been doing. But the real deal for me is that it's never automatic. It's never, this is what I'm going to do, because I don't know if this happens for you, but for me, when I just do what automatic, that becomes automatic, and the results for myself in terms of rising aren't the same. Like they were the first time it occurred to me to do that, and it was so powerful and present. Have you had that experience where you did something that was so powerful the first time you did it, and then you thought, all I got to do is keep doing this, and it'll stay this powerful, but then you keep doing it, and it doesn't. It's like going to a weekend workshop. You come out of that, you feel full of prep, full of energy, and you're ready to take on life, and then after a little bit of time, it kind of fades. Anybody else have that experience at a workshop? It's what can you do to keep it fresh and now for this moment? That's the growing organically. The more present you are, the more you can stay in this moment now. That's when what happens is extraordinary. That's when over time that you get into that habit. I have gotten into the habit of what do I need to do for myself now? And being open to whatever pops up. Go take a walk, take a bath, sit and meditate, do an affirmation, do a treatment, do journal, pet the cat. Pet the cat. Whatever it is that comes up, let that be what then you do. What grows in organic life is being willing to take the action. You need to be willing to, when that thing pops up for you to do, actually do it. Not just sit there and go, I don't know, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, I don't know. That sounds crazy. Why would I do that? No, you have to be willing to do it, whatever it is, and get into the habit of just following that part of you that wants so much for you to love life, that wants so much for you to have your dreams come true, that wants so much for you to be so magnificent in yourself that you're proud of yourself. You're proud of who you are. You're proud of how you're walking around in life. You feel so good and joyous about who you are being in the world. That's the part you want to be listening to. That's the part you want to be taking action on. Because that's the part that serves being what we want to see in the world. When we follow that voice, when we grow our lives organically, are willing to be fully present, we impact life. Not just ourselves, all of life. That's the way we do it. That's the best way to do it. All the great people throughout history who have impacted life in its goodness have discovered that it starts from within. Have discovered that when we bring out in ourselves being present, being in love with ourselves, and willing to do what it takes to love ourselves, that then life feels loved. When we take good care of ourselves, life feels loved. And the more we can love on life, the more our life will blossom. Because one of the things that any good farmer knows about organic farming is it takes very rich soil. And the soil we want to feed it is love, joy, magnificence. Does that mean those other feelings don't happen? They do for me. I feel them all the time, those other feelings. But I use those other feelings now to remind myself that means it's time to look at how to love myself. If I'm upset, it's time for loving. If I'm mad, if I'm annoyed, it's time for loving. If I'm sad, it's time for loving. That's the beauty, the possibility of what we have to offer ourselves and each other. Thank you. I love you. All right. Who's going to come up this week and be loved on? We need somebody with courage enough to step up. Come on down. All right, Daniel. Tell us what you'd like us to love on.
I have a procedure that has to be done in about a week and a half. It frightens the crap out of me, so I need help. And I'm starting today.
All right, there we go. We need 8 to 10 folks to place hands on this man. And as always, we start by taking a deep breath, closing our eyes and relaxing, and feeling the love within our own hearts. Love on yourself. Feel that love growing within your own heart, that love, healing light. And now feel it expand to touch everybody in this room, to touch everybody online, to feel the online folks touching you. Our spiritual family creating this incredible energy of healing, loving. And now we send that energy through Daniel, into Daniel, knowing it is Daniel. We send it into him so that he knows the perfect and right healing essence is here in him through every cell of his body. The perfect and right person doing the surgery, the healing after the surgery, like it's already done. He's already healed. It's already perfect. Let him feel your healing energy now. And I am so grateful for this healing, calm, loving energy that Daniel is, that we as a spiritual community, family are, that healing is all there is. And it is perfect, complete, divine. And I release this knowing it to be so, as we all say together, and so it is. And that is the power and presence of a spiritual family and what we have together. And I am so grateful for that, I gotta tell you. The loving energy that flows through this room, I am so grateful for that. All right, take out what you're gonna give. Hold it in your hand. Unfold it. It doesn't matter whether it's $1, $10, $100, $1,000, deeds of property, gold mines, diamond mines, whatever you've got. Hold it in your hand and unfold it because it's power, it's presence. As we say together, God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What I give, I receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.